Hello, everybody, and welcome. So lovely to see so many familiar faces, familiar names. My mum's here. If everyone can just make sure that they've pressed OK to it recording, hopefully you've got a notification that it is recording, fingers crossed. And if you wouldn't mind muting yourselves, so that we don't have lots of background noise from other people for now. Oh Lord, adrenaline, lads. Okay, so we are here for this. She has big energy, and when she launched just over a year ago, I set up lots of podcast so I could talk about her, and I found that I couldn't talk about her. So I'm hoping that today I will feel more able to talk about her and also share, to do what I wanted to do, you know, at launch, which is to share ritual and ceremony with people, because as you know, there's a lot of that in this, but also that's tricky for me. So this is a great big She of the Sea coming out in a beautiful circle of women. And because I'm me, I'm doing this solo. So I'm doing tech as well as ritual, as well as answering questions. Yeah, so bear with me whilst I'm doing it on my husband's computer with two separate monitors and two separate cameras. So this is tech wizardry magic, hopefully going to happen for you. So we are recording. The music is off. I have greeted you and asked you to turn your microphones off. So the final thing just to invite you to do is to type questions into the text box, into the chat. I won't come to them for about 20-25 minutes from now, but then they're there for me to see, so I can see who's wanting to ask questions. You can also just say if you want to ask it in person, or if you're just happy for me to answer typed ones. For me, trying to manage lots and lots of social interaction as well is a little tricky, so I just need to kind of flag that up. Okay, I'm going to open with the opening of the book, because for me, that is very personal and very, I'm teaching my e-course, my new e-course called Structuring the Soul of Writing. And I talk a lot about how I structure my work. And so for me, this idea of the structure of a book is almost as important as the content of the book. So the book is a journey in its own right. So we start that journey driving the coast road. And that is a literal drive. Like that is a drive that I did with my daughter to take her back to school. She'd been out of school for a couple of years with big struggles. And so this was a very healing journey, kind of every single day, driving in the opposite direction to the other schools that my kids were at, doing this coast road journey, and then being able to turn that into words was very powerful. And you're probably not supposed to say this about your own work, but for me, it's one of my favorite pieces of writing I've ever done. It is a real snapshot of that drive, as well as the structural element of it, which is taking us on the road from the land down towards the sea, being greeted by the women on the shoreline, which was a literal thing that happened. And then the book takes us bit by bit from the land onto the shoreline, dipping our toes into the water, getting in swimming, then diving deep. And that's a very conscious choice that I made in structuring the book, so that you are bit by bit being invited into the world of She of the Sea, and also being initiated, but safely enough. Because often our initiations with water can be being thrown in head first down into the depths, and that's scary. And the same with Burning Woman. Like a Burning Woman is an initiation of fire, and often we find ourselves in the fire, dancing naked, not knowing what the hell we're doing. So both books are this initiation gradually and gently of the elements. and understanding what that process looks like and feels like, but doing it in a creative, safe, contained way, giving words to what that experience is. So, the opening of She of the Sea. The sea makes itself felt, even when it is not seen. It is there in the low-hanging mist-trapped-in valley, in the browning boglands, dotted with migrant birds, in the salt wind that buffets the rooks. The thorn trees lean inland after a lifetime of salt winds sculpting them, silent ciphers of the sea beyond the skyline, where the fields end and the cliffs drop away. The statue of Mary, Star of the Sea, looks out from her rocky grotto, arms open towards the ocean. A lone pink thrift flower bobs in the breeze at her feet. White gulls wheeling over the golden stubble of the newly harvested wheat fields behind her. Mackerel clouds swim against a powder blue sky. The last swifts darting. It's actually very special reading that at this time of year, because that's when it was written. It was mid-September, and so that's what Ireland looks like again at the moment. So I'm moving now on to the opening invitation. Come, join me. I've been waiting for you. Slip off your shoes. Feel your toes sink into the sand. Stand with me here on the beach and look out at the vast expanse of blue sea receding into sky. Breathe in the freshness of the air and let your shoulders drop as you do. Feel yourself small and insignificant, yet part of something magnificent. Come down to the water's edge. Let the waves lap at your toes and the wind play with your hair. Then let us walk together until something catches your eye. A white shell with blushes of pink. You lift the shell to your ear and marvel. The rush of the sea is right here in your hands. You had forgotten, or maybe never knew, that everything that has been shaped by the sea holds within it a saline memory, the song of the sea. Each shell, each piece of glass tumbled by the waves, each pebble worn smooth by the tides. Every time you hold it and listen with your whole self, a portal opens to the inner sea. With a pebble, you feel it in the solidity of your own bones. In some shells, you see it reflected in their iridescence. And in the rarest still, you hear it, captured for all time, no matter how far from the shore it is taken. You hand it to me. I hold it to my own ear and listen. What is it trying to tell me, I wonder? I offer you this book as a naming of the magics of the sea. I invite you to experience the reading of it as a walk along the seashore, scattered with treasures. Consider each part a pebble for your pocket, each poem a shell for your ear. You might feel the desire to walk its full length in one go, or pick out the shells that most catch your eye on each walk. As we stroll together, you might catch sight of a tail above the waves and drop this book to the sand and run out into the depths to swim with it. I love watching your listening faces. It's fabulous. Thank you. Thank you for your listening. Thank you for being here. I want to, having opened with the words of the book, to share my special place, to share my bit of the shoreline that inspired this book, because most of you have never seen it. And so I want to share its reality with you in a very amateur little video and some lovely music that I've been playing again and again on loop, which I hope you enjoy. It's called Be Like Water by Low Wolf. Here we go.
Let me be like water, fluid and forgiving. Let me be like water. 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 Let me be like water.
So, did you get sound? Okay, so that was my little view into my beautiful bit of the coast here in East Cork in Ireland, and a special spiral that I made for all of you. And I'd like to now move on to making a little mandala, spiral, whatever calls you, if you have your materials with you. If you don't, it will be about maximum 5 minutes, so you can just stay with us and watch. So if you want to get your bits and pieces to hand, I'm going to attempt to move on to camera number 2. Here we go. All right. So if you want to place your little bowl or glass or whatever you have there in the center, my other bits and pieces. I've got my little selection. So I've got my sea urchin that you saw me find there, and some bits and pieces. So pop your bit in the middle. I'm going to put on some music as I'm making, but just so that you know what we're using first. Then we're going for, if you have bigger or longer bits, I'm using longer shells like this, or just bigger buttons or flowers, whatever you have. So we're going to be using them first. I'm actually going to replace my bowl with my sand urchin for now, and I'm going to replace it later. So have your 4 pieces to hand, and then your other little bits to one side. Okay, I'm going to pop on the music again, so that can be on whilst I'm playing with these with you. So hopefully you can hear me, plus music is just starting. So we're going to do north, south, east, and west with our pointy or larger pieces. In magic and witchcraft, this would be calling the directions. It's locating ourselves in space and time. So north and south, east and west. I'm then taking some of these pretty little cockle shells, and I'm going to put them at the in-between parts, working around now clockwise. And you don't have to follow me, you can do whatever you want, but it's just, oops, if you would like some guidance. So creating those. I'm now going to take some sea glass. I love sea glass. You'll know from the final poem that these are all bits from the poem, as was the walk along the beach. Oh, look at that cat! Beautiful cat. Oh. Okay, so I'm filling in with sea glass just out to where the points of the bigger shells would be, or are. So we're making a circle all the way around, enclosing this. I don't know how many I'm going to do that way. I'm not sure how many I've got, so we will space it like this. I do have enough. Okay. And then I've got some little pretty periwinkles, which are magic to me, all that iridescence. So popping those in between our sea glass. So we're containing our cardinal points here. Creating a holding circle for ourselves. There we go. I'll zoom this up a little bit so you can... So I'm now now going to pop my bowl back in the middle and fill that with some water that I have here to hand. So we are moving on to another song for the second part of the ritual, which if you have had the She of the Sea soundtrack before, if you haven't, there'll be a link to it with the recording of this tomorrow. I love this piece of music. It's called Kai, Song of the Mermaid by Lisa Dancing Light. And it's one that I've done a lot of movement work to. So if you want to take your water, and we will shift cameras again. So take your water and just take a little sip of it. Becoming aware of this liquid coming into your body, this liquid that was at the center of your mandala, imagining it charged with that compass, with that energy of the mandala coming into your body, imagining those 4 cardinal points in your body. So north coming out to your breastbone, south coming out through your back, east coming out through one shoulder, west coming out through the other. And just allowing yourself just to gently move to the music around those 4 points and feeling the center, that water that you've taken into your body, which is now gone down into your stomach, right into the center of your being. Centering you with its magic and its power. Just allowing yourself to soften into the music, to allow flow to enter into your body. To allow that flow to move into your limbs, through your hands and your arms. Just allow them to be almost floating on water. Allowing your head just to drop back and be resting in this imagined water. Feeling it going down through into your hips. Gently moving your legs and your feet, allowing that flow to come the whole way through your body. All the time being aware of that center, that compass, right at your core, allowing you to follow whichever direction you choose. I'm just taking a couple of breaths here. If magic was a color, that color would be sparkling blue. Aquamarine, cobalt, lapis, turquoise, sapphire, blue. It was the blue in a dozen shimmering shades. Azure, cyan, deep sky, Prussian, Egyptian, navy, cerulean, that began the healing process. Cornflower, teal, peacock, electric, baby, powder. I seek it out in paints and inks, phthalo, indigo, true, royal, mermaid, pond, stream, denim, ultramarine. I call up these names, like mantras. Watch them spread in the silent pools of water on the page. Fingers stained with their vibrance. I drink them in through my eyes, like a dying woman gulps water. That poem is another of my very favorite pieces of writing. I'm still painting with blue. I've come back to painting seascapes, moonscapes. At the time I was writing this, I was doing a lot of painting in watercolor and rediscovering that. And now I've moved on to gouache, which gives me the opportunity to make more mistakes. And as a messy person, I like the opportunity to make mistakes and not have fucked up the whole piece. So I find blue necessary to my soul. It sounds like a very self-indulgent thing when I say it, but I know it as truth. So, and actually one of the watercolor, I discovered liquid watercolors, which just the vibrance is just fabulous. And my favorite one is called Truth. It's a bright, vivid blue called Truth. And just the thought, the feeling of painting with truth is just, my brain can't comprehend the wonder of it. So this blue that I was writing about was a remembrance. The poem goes on to talk about this time in, I am going to cry, right? That's just part of the course. This time in Mallorca, before everything really, the shit really hit the fan. And it was a time out of time that our family really needed. And we were there with my in-laws and with my children and my husband. And we can't do, we have never been able to do family holidays away without other adults there to help support with one of my children. And we were all there, and just having the pressure off my shoulders just for that couple of weeks where there was sunshine, there was a pool, there was blue every day. We started the morning with art, and it was just so healing. And I remember telling my best friend afterwards, that vibrance of color is just, it's essential for me. It's not just a little luxury. It's like, it made me come alive again. And she said, Lucy, you need to do that once a year. You need to factor that in as just what you do. You have to get somewhere where you get that light and that color. And then shit hit the fan. My mother-in-law was hospitalized and has never walked without any assistance since. And my daughter's health, mental health just crashed, and we were basically housebound for a couple of years, two of us. Two of us happened to be at home all the time, and just life came crashing. And so just holding that memory of that blue, and coming back to it through words was very, very powerful. And my whole being is so excited that in a month's time, I'm going to Crete to meet dear Gina, who is next to me in the, I don't know if she's in your photo view, but she's waving, to International Priestess Convocation, which is stepping into my biggest power and my biggest fear all at once, with a dear friend, but getting to see that blue again, and to be back in that blue again after those years of struggle. And so all of that got bottled into She of the Sea, and obviously I can't write about, you know, all the ins and outs. If you've read Medicine Woman, you touched on some of it, but it was a really hard couple of years there. And for me, writing is how I process things. And so writing this book was so part of it was a continuation of the journey of medicine woman, of discovering that I was autistic, owning that I was autistic, owning what it was like to be me out in the world. And for me, that I think was one of the things that caused a huge struggle for me in sharing that book, was I was being so open about how I function. And it was a book that a lot of people in the local area would be more interested in than something like Burning Woman. And so there was this awareness that people in my local area could and would be reading this and seeing why I was weird and understanding why I was weird and possibly being judgmental. And that was really challenging for me. Because I do try to be as normal as I can in daily life. So that was really, really tricky for me. I couldn't go to the beach, having written about my safest, most lovely place in the world to escape to. Suddenly I couldn't go there because I just felt so exposed, which 99% is all in my head, but there it was. So it was only a few weeks ago that I was able to get back onto the beach. And that spiral I made for you, I think, was the first beach spiral I've made since the book came out. I mean, that's what a big thing it was for me. It was Burning Woman levels of big, this book coming out. It was also an exploration of the two parts of my identity in terms of belonging, in terms of my Irish side and my English sides, and how they had been split down the middle by the Irish Sea, by going backwards and forwards over the Irish Sea as a child, that feeling of split loyalties, of not quite belonging here or there, which I discovered as I started writing and talking to people about it, that people who are drawn to the sea seem to, a lot of us have this fluidity of identity. For some of us, it is not feeling like we belong in one place or another. For others, it's gender identity. But it seemed to be a really strong piece of the puzzle, that those who couldn't find belonging on land with people went to the sea and found some sort of elemental belonging there. So I really was excited to see, for those of you who don't kind of know how the process goes, I write, I get a strong idea of what the book is about, I carry on writing, and about 2/3 through the process, I put out a call for contributions. So the majority of the book is down before I see any contributions. I give guidance on what the book is about, you know, a couple of paragraphs, but that's it. And then I will always invite people who I know their stories resonate with mine, that fill in gaps that mine doesn't cover, that gives more angles that I can't give, because my books are very me heavy. And what I'm talking about is usually universal stuff. So I can't speak for everybody. I don't have everybody's experiences. So that's a really key part to inviting that circle of voices. But what always amazes me is the synchronicities of themes, of experiences from those writers. Like, you can't make it up. That's what's extraordinary, and that is what is so heartening, because this thing that you've kind of had a sense of, but you can't prove, you've noticed it in culture around you, or people saying things, suddenly is coming at you through other people's voices, and it's very, very powerful. So I do love weaving in other voices for all of those reasons. And then the other part of it was the healing part, which I started by talking about, which a lot of women seem to find the sea, the seashore, swimming, being in water, extremely healing. And just healing of all sorts of wounds, grief, like cancer diagnosis and treatments, autoimmune, anxiety things, both physically healing, but also emotionally and mentally healing. And so I really kind of wanted to know my baseline question and why there's so many parts to this book, which I tried like ripping them out and just having it more streamlined just on one kind of bit, but all of them needed to be there, is what is this? What is this? Why is it? What calls us to the sea and why does it work? Like, why does it have that effect on us? And so this elemental healing bit of the puzzle, I loved following that all the way down into our roots as a species, and that idea of the aquatic ape theory, which some people, you know, have shot down and think is horrific, but I just was fascinated. I was like, well, what if it's not just an idea calling us back, like it's actually our biology calling us back to a primal experience that our species had tens of generations ago, and yet it still impacts us in that way because we evolved in and with the sea. Like, what if? And I don't know, like, you know, we've all just got theories, but this was a theory that was put out, and, you know, if David Attenborough thinks it's a possibility, then I'm with him, you know, David Attenborough for king. And so then there was this piece of the puzzle that, if that is true, and yet the biggest implication of climate change for a huge amount of the world's population is rising sea levels, is acidification of waters, of unusable, unfishable, like fish stocks gone. If we can't access the water in all the ways that we have, if we can't get back to that primal place for healing, nourishment, food, then what? And so it brings it all the way back around in the way that Burning Woman did, from a very personal journey into something much bigger that says, hang on a second, without moralizing or anything else, this is serious. Like, our individual journeys are involved in this much bigger picture of something that is changing fast, which we're not really focusing on. You know, we're focusing on in terms of classical environmentalism, but not in terms of us as individuals, as a species, and our relationship with this core part of our ecology, our landscape, which is part of us. Like, we still haven't made that basic link of it is us that we are killing. And also it is something much bigger than us, and we are tiny and we can disappear and it will still be here. But like that intimacy of connection is just something I feel very, very strongly. And then for those of you who are wondering what comes next, I've learned to do this thing, which is to announce the next book at the end of the previous one. So if you're paying attention, you will see where the journey is leading you. And that is twofold. Firstly, it's to stop me backing out of where the journey is leading, which I always want to, because it gets weirder and crazier, and I wish it would get more normal and easier. And so it's to stop me backing out. And it's also because I do see each of my books as parts of some larger whole, whatever that is, my body of work, but they are connected. There is connection between them. And so I want to ask you guys, but I don't know how I would get a response from all of you at the same time, because it might be a bit overwhelming if you all yelled something at me and it was all different stuff. Go on, type into the chat if you know where the book is taking us, if you know what's next. And maybe you follow me and you read everything I've ever written and you know, because I've announced it already, but I'm curious, from reading the end of the book, can you see where we're going next? Oh, here we go. Okay. Yay. Wasn't too subtle. So okay, so we are being taken to Crow Moon, which I started writing. My books always overlap, they always kind of intermingle, and so the next one is started before the last one is launched. So Crow Moon is totally illustrated, and yet the words are not there. The plan is there, bits and pieces are there, but it's all in illustration form, which is really interesting. So I don't know, like basically it has two ways it can go. It can go safe way, not the supermarket, safe way, or it can go deep into the dark forest. And you know me, it will go deep into the dark forest, but I've got to get my nerve up before it can. So I kind of, you know, and then part of me thinks, well, maybe it isn't a book, maybe it's going to be a something else, maybe, I don't know. So that's where we're at. So in the meantime, I am co-authoring a book with our fabulous Sarah Robinson, Yoga for Witches, Kitchen Witch author, which is all about food and magic and seasonality, and I've illustrated that, and it's been so lovely to write because it's not an in-depth psychological deep dive, and there's somebody else to share the workload with. So working collaboratively has been really special because I'm such a lone wolf normally in my creative work. So that will be out before Crow Moon. But Crow Moon, it's evolving, but that's what the promise was. And you know, more books have come up beside it since, and I'm working on them and dipping in and out of them. So it's these big books. So Burning Woman, Medicine Woman, She of the Sea are like, they take my everything. There's only so much deep dive I can do before I'm totally wrecked and need to have recovery time of working on something that isn't quite so exhausting to me. But I'm so glad that I have done them because they have shifted so much for me, and I know that they have connected with so many people, but they take a lot, and especially when you're, you know, just trying to do daily life too, of mother of three, running a business, you know, that sort of thing. So I guess I've talked, I can't even see a clock. Oh, sugar. Okay, I've talked too much. We've got lots of deep dive. There we go. One of the things that has scared me a lot about writing She of the Sea was the magic, the admitting magic, like oi. But as you can hear from what I'm working on now, it's becoming a bigger and bigger bit of me. So I'll just read just a very short bit on magic. Water allows us to touch magic, be touched by magic, to embody magic, to be held, to be transformed by the elements, the sparkle of sunlight on water. It reminds us of this promise. Okay, I'm going to invite, because I have some very special contributors with me, and I want to just acknowledge the passing of one of our dear contributors too. Yes, she passed about 6 months ago. She wrote about the sea being like her church, and yeah, so just remembering her. We hope, I didn't actually see Alice Gray check in. I saw Aisha check in and I saw Lena check in. So if either of them would like to speak about why they joined us, why they contributed to the book. I'm going to see if Aisha is. Aisha, do you want to unmute yourself and pop yourself on video? It would be lovely to hear from you. Oh, you've just disappeared. No, you haven't. They're there.
See.
Hello.
Oh, did this work?
I can
Hopefully.
hear you, and I think you're appearing.
Oh no, let me try again.
Real life
There we
mermaid,
go.
Aisha.
Hi there.
Hello, hello. And she has just been at a mermaid conference. Can you believe it? A whole international gathering of mermaids.
Yes, yes. It was a lovely opportunity to meet some others who are very passionate about sustainability and conservation and our connection to the sea. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. You see, I've never spoken to 99% of our contributors. So this is our first time ever connecting in real life, apart from email.
It is. Oh my gosh, what a pleasure. So for me, I was actually very, very lucky to know the other mermaid that also contributed to the book, Mermaid Harmony. And we were in passing one day as the tides keep bringing us together over and over and over in different places around the world. And she mentioned that Lucy Pearce was looking for contributors for this book and that she thought it would be a great idea for me to share my story. And of course, I went through all 1 million feelings of, oh my goodness, my work in a Lucy Pearce book. How? No, absolutely not. And yes, so I submitted my journey as someone of color who felt a connection to the ocean very early on, as someone who is very passionate about marine biology and having this connection with my little sister who unfortunately wasn't able to survive her cancer and live on to tend to the sea and tend to her passions. And so I'm just so thankful and honored to have had the opportunity to share a glimpse into my story in this manner. For me, right now at this point in my life where I am, I feel like the part of my writing or parts of my writing that resonate most with me that I would like to share is one line towards the beginning. With my audacity and a deep breath, I dove in, never looking back at the shore, because I feel like that is a marvelous way to live and to walk through life, and just remember our connection to the water that pulses through us and that connects us to the earth and connects us to the moon and connects us to each other, and just knowing that you can use your audacity. You have every right to take up space meaningfully and that you belong, and that every single person has their own gift that they can share with the world. And you can move forward and dive as deep as you need to in order to achieve that and share that. And then the end, I won't read all of it, but the very last paragraph of my writing, where I just really talk about everything that the sea is to me and that ultimately she is home. That is something that resonates very deeply with me as well. I think it's so important to understand that, yes, we are humans and we can understand each other, but that doesn't take away from any other creature or being on this planet that we share this beautiful place with. And it's up to us to remember where we came from, and it's up to us to return there and help to take care of this natural world that we share. And I just am so appreciative of the opportunity to get to share a little bit of that insight and a little bit of my experience and be a part of this experience. So thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you so much, Aisha. And thank you for weaving your mermaid magic throughout the world. I have great envy. I think anyone who is a mermaid is fabulous.
Well, someday I will definitely transform you and you can share the experience of the sea.
Thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind switching off your microphone, and if I can invite, I think Lena, she didn't say if she wanted to contribute or not, but if she wants to, that would be fabulous. If you want to unmute yourself, I'll give you a moment in case you want to.
Hi everyone. Hello. Hi. Thanks. So I'm very sorry I'm not a native speaker. If I do so mistakes, I'm very sorry for that. But as I saw the announcement that Lucy was looking for someone who wants to contribute, I was like, oh my God, yes, this is like, now this is my topic, because I was born in a place where have no contact to the sea. And when we moved to Germany, to northern Germany, and I started to visit the sea, it was like home for me too. And for a very long time, I didn't understood why it is so, but now I do, because I have a very multicultural, multi-religious background. And also a big part of my family were nomads, and I always had this feeling like I'm searching for roots. But at the sea, I understood that my roots are kind of in the sea. So I'm appreciating my being of a nomad. So I'm always on my way, and I'm always searching for something that I can't find. But now I started to appreciate, like, yeah, my movements, like the sea. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lena. I really appreciate you being here. And I think a lot of us can really resonate with that feeling of fluidity, of not quite belonging in one place or another, and yet learning to embrace that rather than resist it or think there's something wrong with it. I'm going to now invite a couple of questions. I'm kind of mindful of time and mindful that I allowed people to ask questions. So we're going to walk that fine line between one and the other. So I didn't see any in the chat. Oh, Alice Gray is here under Mia Ray. Alice, if you'd like to say a couple of words, that would be fabulous, because Alice is the creatrix of selkies and goddesses. You might see them on Instagram, and they are stunning, and her photography of them is just so beautiful. They're very tactile, very primitive, primal, kind of, they speak to the ancient handheld goddesses to me. So if you'd like to unmute yourself and just say hello and a couple of words about your work.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, and now I know.
Yeah, just want to say thank you so much for your beautiful book, and I feel like I found my tribe this evening. Heartfelt, your poetry and everything, absolutely beautiful. I live in a place called Saltburn on the northeast coast of Britain, and a lot of my creativity is around the sea, particularly looking at sea mammals, looking at seals, looking at Celtic myths and things like that. I've also recently taken up wild swimming, which has been an absolute joy, and if anything, cements my relationship with the ocean. So I live by my tide tables. I also do a little bit of teaching at the local school, but the sea has kind of saved me and healed me, and the process continues. And I just sort of, one more thing I'd like to say before I go is our relationship with the sea is should be like our relationship that we have with each other. It should be simple, and it should be our relationship with nature and everything. I can't quite find the words I want to say, but we can't be outside of it anymore. We can't be separate from it. We have to be together as one. Thank you for letting me chat. Okay.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to hear your voice too after enjoying your art.
Yes, absolutely lovely to, yeah, it's so great this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay,
Thank you.
Thank you. So if anybody would like to unmute themselves and ask a question, we'll risk 20 people unmuting themselves at the same time. And there is no obligation to, but just I'm aware that I invited questions. Oh, my mummy is showing her labyrinth. She's the one who got me into labyrinths. All right, I'm going to give you another 10 seconds or so to, if there's any burning questions, and then I will continue by closing our Hello, Gina. Hello.
Yes. I don't want to throw a spanner into the works, but as a provocateur by nature, I just want to mention that reading She of the Sea has been difficult for me, and I put it down about 12 times and picked it up again. But you know, I adore your writing. So my struggle with this, my wrestling match with this, has interwoven with a lot of the genealogical research that I've done that COVID gave me the time to do. And what I've discovered is that every single ancestor of mine traveled on a very scary boat to this continent about 350, 400 years ago. So when I start thinking about diving deep, I am filled with enormous panic. I feel nothing but adrenaline and cortisol surging through my veins. And so I hear you talk about the sea being healing. I love to swim at the beach. I love the sand between my toes, but the thought of going deep is absolutely terrifying. And I don't know if anybody else has responded in such a way or if I am just odd, which we know to be true. But I did want to bring that in as a notion that the sea, for many of us, has been historically quite terrifying. And I just wanted to bring that up.
So I'm not sure if you've got there yet, but I'd say kind of chapter 7 or 8, as we approach diving deep, I say exactly that there is a difference between choosing to dive deep and being dragged down or through by riptides. And that makes all the difference, because if you can take a breath and you know that you're going down and you are exploring and you are full of curiosity, that's a very different experience to being dragged down, terrified that you are about to die. And for many people, that experience, that terror, is far bigger because the sea hasn't been a choice. The sea has imposed itself on them or been imposed on them. And so I think that's a key and core difference to make, is choice versus consent versus non-consent. Whatever our experience is, whatever we are interacting with, if we feel in danger of our lives, if it is separating us from all that we love, if this is not a chosen thing, then there is trauma there. And therefore, to approach it, to get anywhere close to it, is traumatic in itself. Even mentally, to get close to it in our minds is terrifying, because it reawakens that for us. So I don't think you've got there yet, but I do really acknowledge that, because that is truth. And maybe it's not a book for you. And that's okay too, we can still be friends.
I'm gonna do it. I am. I just have to appease the ancestors who are screaming, "Don't cross an ocean!" So,
but it's Burning Woman was the same. It's all very nice talking about bonfires, but somebody who contributed or wanted to contribute but couldn't, I can't remember which way it ended up being, her house had burned down. Oh no, she was at the workshop. She was at the workshop that we were at Glastonbury. Her house had burned down. There's nothing romantic about that. There's nothing, it's transformational, but not in a nice way, not in a chosen way. Like, that is trauma upon trauma. So the thought of even talking about smoke and flames is just like, I'm not going there. That destroyed my life. So I get that. And that's why these books are so hard to work with, because each of us has those elements within ourselves of, keep the fuck away from this, because this is scary shit. Mm-hmm. That's why the fight to, first of all, put stuff into words, and secondly, to put it out into the world, because it is scary. That's the bottom line. If this was easy work, it wouldn't need doing.
Everybody would do it.
We would all just be dancing through the grasslands and holding hands, and humanity would be in a great place right now. But we're not, because all of this stuff is deep, deep in our bodies and in our souls and in our brains, in our cells. Trauma upon trauma, generation upon generation. All right. It feels like a good place to move into the final couple of readings. Water has been acknowledged as a symbolic and elemental conduit between states of existence by cultures around the world for as far back as we are aware. For many spiritual traditions, it is considered the matrix of transformation, its fluidity allowing us to move from one state of being to another. Many cultures acknowledge the sea as a portal to sacred or magical realms beyond, and water itself as an earthly sacrament. In my book, Burning Woman, I wrote extensively about the baptism of fire. But what of the baptism of water? I want to reclaim this act of transformation for each of us beyond the limitations of religious dogma. It is a powerful magic. By using conscious immersion in ritual practice in our daily lives, we can begin to remember, to reclaim what it means to be directly connected to the matrix, to the mother, to Mother Nature. So I invite you to take your salt and pop it into your water and just give it a little stir around with your finger. I'm not going to move on to the other camera again. And then just take that water and say a silent prayer for yourself and anoint your forehead with that water. And that prayer might just be blessings upon me. Dip your finger in the water again. And if you don't have water, you can just do this in your mind. Put the water onto your heart, just anointing your heart. Blessings upon our community, upon us all. And then into the water one last time. And if you are wearing something, you can just lift up your thing slightly and just on your belly or your womb space, just rub there, and blessings upon the natural world. May yours be the sparkle of light on the ocean, the whisper of foam on the sea, the warm sand guiding your feet safely home, a pebble in your pocket from me, some sea glass, a starfish, some driftwood, a whelk, treasures washed up on the shore, a flower, a feather, an urchin, a pearl. Keep your eyes open for more. May you know yourself held in the palm of her hand, blessed by the waves wild and free, blown by the wind, anointed with salt, beloved of she of the sea. Thank you so much for being here. It has been a very special circle for me to see all your lovely faces here and real life readers and real life contributors. And thank you. Please do, we'll be emailing out the link to this tomorrow morning. Do share it widely with anybody who you feel it would resonate with. Share the book with people who might love it. If you want to read it as part, or any of our Womancraft books as part of a real life book club, we offer 20% discount for over 5 copies of any one book. So you can get signed copies from us and have a real life discussion group with your beautiful circles of women. Our next book club is The Mistress of Longing. Cute. Supposed to have the book here, which I forgot to. But that will go out tomorrow to you as well, with author Wendy Havlier-Cherry, who is a fabulous lady. Thursday, November 17th at 7 p.m. And thank you. I'm going to close with a song from Eleanor Brown, who is a very special soul. who we have just, our paths have interacted many times through our creativity and through our shared struggles of being human in this world. And I can't remember if she is, I think she is in this book. She's certainly in Creatrix. And anyway, I just wanted to leave you with this. It is soulful and uplifting and speaks of the sea and of togetherness and healing. And so feel free to drift out as it's playing, but I will play its entirety. Thank you so much. And sorry for going slightly over. I do respect our space here. Okay, let's Meet You There by Dear Eleanor Brown. And a link to this playlist will be in your email tomorrow. So. Thank you.
Breathe into the timeless. Breathe into beliefs. Oh, breathe. Breathe into the broken. Into the unspoken. Let your stories free. Oh, lean into the mystery. Lean into the empty. Trust what's yet unseen. Take me to the mountain. Take me to the sea. Maybe it is the river where I wash the spirit clean. Oh, take me to the mountain. Take me to the sea. Lay me in the river, yes. Take me to this field. Oh, lead me to the mountain. Feel the wind surrounded, blowing wild and oh, breathe into the water. Let it flow together with take me to the mountain, take me to the sea. Maybe it's the river where I wash the spirit clean. Oh, take me to the mountain, take me to the sea. Maybe it's the river, yes, take me to the field where my soul lies down in that green, green grass. Where my soul lies down in that green, green grass. Where my soul lies down in that green, green grass. That the world's too far to talk about. I'll meet you there. Oh, give yourself permission. Give yourself a reason. Loving all the trouble to discover and let's be where my soul lies down in that green, green grass. Where my soul lies down in that green, green grass. Where my soul lies down in that green, green grass. That this world's too full. Well, this world's too full. Yes, this world's too full. So I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there to walk in darkness. Trust the spark lights us. Don't you lose your thread. Don't you lose your thread.
Thank you all. Good night.